Ravananayana Jamba Manasam Vaparadham Vihitam Avihitam Va Sarvametat Shamasva Jaya Jaya Karunabde Jaya Jaya Karunabde Om Shri Mahadeva Shambho. Namaskar and good morning to everyone. I said good morning. For millennia, for many millennia, the world has always looked east. When they looked for something beyond, they didn't look up, they looked east. Because we invested and bred the basis of, or the mechanics of human consciousness, how to approach it. How there is a scientific way to sort out the most complex creature on this planet, which is the human being. The mechanics of being human. I'm sure, though many of you have refused to turn off your phones, you agree with me that all the gadgets are on. You agree with me that this is the most sophisticated gadget on the planet, do you? And when you have been given such a complex gadget, such a complex technology, I'm asking you, have you read the user's manual? So without reading the user's manual, if you do something, it somehow works. It is not that it's not working at all, it's working off and on, haphazardly. We have come to a point in the world today where human intellect is sparking like never before. More people can think for themselves than ever before. Whether they're thinking straight or not is another question, but at least they're thinking. There was a time when a Messiah thought for you, a Guru thought for you, an elder in the village thought for you, a scripture thought for you. Now individual people are beginning to think for themselves across the world. I would say in the next 25 to 30 years, all these tiny tots who are making sweet noises right now, these ones, when they grow up, they are not going to listen to your stuff unless it makes sense to them. They won't listen, believe me. You kind of struggle. Little sense, little elders told you this, so you kind of… you're a hybrid. Yes? Trying to be diplomatic with the parents and trying to make a deal with your own logic. But I'm telling you, these little ones who are making sweet noises today, they are going to confront you with questions for which you have no answers. They're going to ask you questions which will make everything crumble. When I say everything crumble, one big concept which has kept a large part of humanity going in their miseries is that one day, for all their stupid difficulties, they're going to go to heaven. Let me tell you something about the geography and the content of the heaven. You know, in Hindu heaven, food is good. Those of you who are foodies must go to Hindu heaven. Nala himself is the chef out there. He's the best cook on the planet or anywhere. So, if you are a food person, you must go to Hindu heaven. In another heaven, there are white-gowned ladies who float in the clouds. If you like that kind of scenery, you go there. In another place, there is a virgin problem. But what is the qualification to go to heaven? This happened in a Sunday school in Alabama. Those of you who have not traveled to Alabama, Tennessee, that region, you must travel. It's another world. So Sunday school teacher in great enthusiasm talking to the tiny tots, he said, "What do you have to do to go to heaven?" Little Mary stood up and said, "If I scrub the church floor every Sunday morning, I will go to the church." Absolutely. Another little girl stood up and said, "If I share 50% of my pocket money with a less privileged friend of mine, I will go to heaven." Absolutely. Another little girl said, "If I help somebody who is in difficulty wherever I see them, I will go to heaven." Yes, correct. Little Tommy in the back bench said, "You gotta die first." Well, that's the basic qualifications. So if you die, this is not my wish, okay? It's not my wish that you should die, but anyway you will die. Most of you probably think only other people die, those people who registered in the obituary column, they die. No, you and me will die. So when you die, depending upon which country you are in, which culture you are in, either they'll burn your body or bury your body. So once you left, because body is a borrowing from this planet, it's a piece of this planet, it's your business to give it back. So once you put the body back into this planet and then you went to heaven, you don't have a body. What will you do with good food and virgins, I'm asking? I'm saying many things that you believe. If you ask 3 questions, they will collapse. You might not have had the courage to ask these questions, your children will ask these questions, and these things will crash on your head. When these things crash, when heavens collapse, heavens may collapse and they will collapse, but human aspiration to experience something more will not go. So this longing to experience something more, if you do not fulfill this with a logically correct scientific process of turning inward to know a profound sense of blissfulness and ecstasy within yourself, if you do not create this possibility in the world, if you do not sweep the world, not with belief systems, but with scientific processes, logically correct methodology to turn inward, if we do not do this in the next 25 to 30 years, in the next 50 to 80 years, you will see 90% of the population will be on chemicals, either drink or drug. Already you see a rapid movement. Governments unable to control these things, one by one they will legalize all these drugs. Once marijuana is free, then cocaine will come, heroin will come. Yes, they will come. There was a time when opium was free in certain countries. When they tried to ban it, other countries fought wars. Opium wars were fought to see that it is legalized so that everybody can use it. So I am not talking about a moral issue of right or wrong or correct or incorrect of being on any kind of chemicals. All I am talking is, if 90% of the population goes on chemical experiences for their something more in their life, the next generation that we produce will be much less than who we are. This is a fundamental responsibility that we have, that the next generation that we produce is at least one step ahead of us. This is a responsibility that all of us owe to this world, that the next generation is at least one step ahead of us, not behind us. If next generation falls behind us, that means we have committed a serious crime against humanity. And that crime is not far away, because your children will shoot the heavens down. Yes, they will, with simple questions, because all these things will not withstand. Many things that people believe in this world today, they cannot withstand 3 questions. Something that cannot withstand 3 questions cannot have foundations of truth, isn't it? Till now, authority has been the truth. A time is coming where truth will be the only authority. Right now the question is, God said this, His messenger said this, a guru said this, a scripture said this, so it must be true. Those times will go. It will go so rapidly, it may be shocking for many of you. Those times will go. If God comes and stands here and speaks, He's still got to speak sense. If He doesn't speak sense, the future generations will reject Him. Yes or no?
Yes.
So when this happens, it is very important that all of us in some way facilitate this possibility, because this has been the strength, the reason why a band of few hundred bandits could conquer large parts of India and rule it. Most of these people who came, they did not come as conquerors, they just came as bandits. They wanted to just loot, rape and run away. But when they found the society was so docile, why they became so docile was they invested heavily in the inner dimension of who they are. And when these people came, they misunderstood this phenomenal process that was going on in the society as weakness. But no matter what, bandits turn into conquerors, conquerors turn into great emperors, at least they call themselves great. Or 1,000 years they ruled. And then others came and ruled for another 300 years. But still, they could not destroy the culture, because the culture is a formless one. It will take on any form and still live. So you must understand, this has survived not because we fortressed ourselves. It survived because we just did not build a wall. Everybody could come in and go out, but still it would stay the same. This is important, that you don't fortress yourself. When Basava said, in a Kale Kamba Dehave Degula Sirahunna Kalasavaya, he meant everything that's worth is within you. It's not up, it's not down, it's all within. This is the fundamental thing. If we do not help people to turn inward, when I say inward, right now the entire human experience is happening because of the five sense organs of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. Your thought and your emotion is a consequence of what you have perceived through these five sense organs. There is nothing within you, either in thought and emotion, either in thought or emotion, which you have not perceived through these five sense organs. Everything has come through these five sense organs. These sense organs, in the very nature of things, are outward bound. You can see what's around you, but you can't roll your eyeballs inward and scan yourself. You can hear this, but you can't hear so much activity that is happening here. You cannot hear this. If an ant crawls upon your hand, you can feel it. So much blood flowing, you cannot feel it, because in the very nature of things, sense organs are outward bound. But the entire human experience is happening from within. Whether light and darkness happens within you, pain and pleasure happens within you, joy and misery happens within you, agony and ecstasy happens within you. Just about anything that ever happened to you happened within you. Right now somebody next to you, if they touch your hand, you think you're experiencing their hand. No, you are only experiencing the sensations generated by your hand. You're incapable of experiencing the other hand. Yes? Do you see me at least, even if you're not listening to me? Do you see me? You use one hand and point out where I am. You got it.